Welcome, everyone, to the Bucks County Living Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Neff. Today, I am joined by my neighbor and good friend, Steve Shive, from Steve Shive and the Urban Saints. How's it going, Steve? Good to see you.
Great. Beautiful day out there. So
It really is.
yeah.
I see you all the time, too. I mean, we live right next to each other.
I really appreciate you having me on.
I'm happy to have you.
Because, music is not really necessarily, something that I would expect somebody in real estate would be interested in. So,
and that's a beautiful part about the Bucks County Living Podcast is that you welcome, I've lived in Bucks County a few years before I bought my first home. And you and your wife, Shelly, have really just welcomed me and my wife, Jackie, into Bucks County. I mean, Jackie grew up here, but you have made my Bucks County experience so much better than, because I hear horror stories all the time of these crazy neighbors, this and that. Jackie and I, we are blessed to have wonderful neighbors like you and Shelly right next to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, I wanted to ask you a question. This is kind of unrelated. Well, it is related. Did you get another dog?
So we're watching one. We're watching my buddy's dog this week. We're watching. So actually, if you go back in the archives of the Bucks County Living Podcast, my buddy Kevin Moyer from Moyer's Landscaping, it's his dog we're watching. His name's Dozer, and he is quite the psychopath. We love him.
Because I was walking my dog. And all of a sudden, I saw three, and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, they got another
I know.
Frenchie."
Yeah, I know. I don't know if we can handle another Frenchie long term, but two is
funny,
plenty.
They're funny. They're I was out today and my dog, of course, doesn't bark at all.
Yeah.
And they were going nuts. So
yeah, Chase doesn't bark at all.
Yeah,
he likes to run, but he doesn't
away.
bark. So I'm really excited to talk about your new album, Steve Shive and the Urban Saints.
It's an EP. It's technically it's
EP.
not like 10 songs or 11 songs. It's an EP. It's 6 songs, which I thought was the more the better way to introduce it because it's new. People know me, but
Is that the difference between an EP and an album? It's the number
an EP
of songs?
usually is 5 songs.
Okay.
I decided to sneak a 6th one on there.
The bonus track.
And the next one, which I'm working on right now, because I have a ton of material, but the next group of songs that I'm working on to release, I'm debating on whether it's going to be 10 or 11 songs, or whether I'm just going to release another 6. And then do a full album, I'm not really sure, but whatever the case, there's I have plenty of material that's going to be coming down the pike as well. So this is the first group of songs that I wrote all the music myself, except for one song on this, which I wrote with a good friend of mine, Jeff Ziv. One of the songs I wrote together with him. The rest of the songs I wrote all the words and music myself. I recorded it, I produced it, and then I have a guy, Randy Weaver, who's the mix engineer and the mastering guy at Soundplex Studios over near Camden, New Jersey. He did all the final mixes and the mastering for me. So
that's cool.
It's kind of my my thing, and it's something I've been wanting to do for a long time. It's late, I came late to not necessarily late to writing, but writing by myself for the most part. And COVID really kind of forced me inward, and so I'm really proud of what I've been doing.
Yeah, because I know you recently retired a few years ago, and you've been working on this album tirelessly, night and day, or this EP tirelessly, night and day, trying to get as much material and as much content to be able to let the people hear.
Well, yeah, the first part of it was really, writing, because I have stuff that I wrote 20 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. In fact, actually, the middle song on this EP is a song called "I'm Coming Home," and I had written that song back in 2013, so 10 years ago, and somehow that song percolated into this other group of like brand new stuff that's been written within the last, 6 months to 3 years, and I was happy with the song, but I wasn't happy with certain things. So that's the one that I ended up co-writing with my friend Jeff Ziv, and Jeff contributed some things to it that really I really liked, and so he has co-credit on that song.
That's great.
So most of the stuff is brand new, but that song, like I said, I originally wrote that original version of that song back in 2013.
Wow. So you've been doing this for a while. How did you find your passion in music, or how did you get into the music?
I started young. I was 5 years old when I performed in public for the first time.
Wow.
So playing drums. I mean, drums was always my main instrument. So I took piano when I was in first grade, and I quit after first grade because I didn't appreciate the nuns slapping my wrist with the roller when I played the wrong note. So, I wished I would have stuck with the piano from that early age. I'd be a really good piano player, as well as being a drummer. Mm-hmm. But I stuck with the drums, and I came to piano late. I came to guitar late. I don't really consider myself, a guitarist or a pianist. But I'm kind of fearless when it comes to writing. So,
So you're able to...
I write on the piano and I write on the guitar, and then, I get other guys to come in and play the parts, sort of similar to what Steely Dan did in terms of, scripting each song with a particular group of players and singers. Because I'm not really comfortable. I don't like my own voice, so I like it enough to be able to put a guide vocal down and show a singer what I'm looking for, melody and phrasing wise on the song. And on this album, I have a fantastic singer, a good friend of mine, Mikey Jr., who's a great blues singer, but he really did something special on this because I'm not really like what you would call a straight-ahead blues artist. There's definitely blues influence in my music, but, I'm a soul, roots, Americana guy. And so, blues is mixed in there because of that mixture of styles. But, you had mentioned Memphis Sunset, that's soul song.
That's my favorite song.
It's not a blues song,
Yeah.
And Fair Warning and Hard Bargain are also soul tunes, The first song... Knock on Your Front Door, that's like a blues rock thing, and the last song on the EP is called You Can't Take It When You Go, and that is definitely a blues song, but it's kind of, people have told me like that really reminds me of Randy Newman, and I was really kind of proud of that because I never started out to emulate Randy. I love Randy Newman, but I mean, I never put that together, and other people have said that sounds like a Randy Newman thing, and so, hey, I'll take that compliment.
Yeah. Memphis Sunset was one of my favorite songs. Hard Bargain was really catchy too. I was listening to the EP yesterday, and I couldn't believe, because, I live right next door, so sometimes we hear you practicing, and it's so cool to see, like, or to listen to what you're putting together piece by piece and able to come out with
I would hope
a song.
So.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
It's so cool to hear it.
I don't mean to, you know what I mean? You're close, right? So,
right.
At a particular time of night, I'll close the windows. And, of course, when I'm recording, the windows are closed. But, it's
so
a small
cool.
studio.
It is so cool to hear sometimes, though, because, sometimes it's like, is it practice or is it recording?
Well,
or
it's recording.
Yeah.
It's not really. It is practice in a certain sense. When I'm writing the song, I'm practicing the part on the piano. But then when I'm recording and putting together the production demo or whatever, that's recording. And,
right.
And
it's like cooking. You're putting in a little dash of this, a little sprinkle of that, a teaspoon
or
of this.
I'm rewriting the song. I do a lot of like edits and rewriting of a song until I get exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes really quick. I mean, I had one song which is not on this EP. It's going to be on the next one. It's a song called "Pardon My Love." I dreamed the song in its entirety. Woke up, went upstairs, and I had the song fleshed out and the melody and everything in literally 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So,
that's cool.
It just, some of them it takes a little longer. Some of them come really easy like that. It just depends,
Where did you get some of your inspiration for this EP in particular, some of the songs on this EP?
Just, my life experiences over the years. I don't really like to try to, tell people, well, this song is about this or this song's about that. It's like, you take from it whatever I'm just hoping that it resonates with people, that like it's something that, maybe they had happen in their life or their experience, and they can relate to the music through those lyrics.
Interesting, because I was listening to it and I definitely I feel like some of the lyrics in there. One of my spiritual mentors, he says, "Eat the chicken and spit out the bones." Right? You keep what makes sense to you,
right,
and you get rid of the rest. And I felt that kind of soulful connection with. I mean, Hard Bargain was really catchy, really fun to listen to. And then there was another one. I'm Coming Home. Was that?
Yeah, that's
is?
The outlier on the EP. I mean, Mikey did such a great job with his singing and interpreting.
Excellent
what
voice.
I was looking for. I'm Coming Home was a song that I didn't think was going to work, and Mikey said, "I really like that song. I'd really like to sing that." So I kind of like said, "Okay, well, yeah, let's put a lead vocal on it, and we'll see what happens. If it doesn't work for the record, then maybe it'll work for another one or whatever,
Yeah.
And when he sang it, he kind of like brought it in line with the other stuff because of his distinctive voice, and it works. And it's different from the other songs, which I think, makes the record stronger. You know what I mean?
I
'Cause
agree.
it's not all. I'm not trying to. A lot of things that I hear, today, it's like very same. You know what I mean? The songs are.
Yeah.
And
they
what
call
I'm
it the
trying to do
formula.
is I can't force myself to write in any particular genre. In other words, I just write what comes to me and what I feel, and so.
Yeah,
That's it. I can't on the new record. I'm probably going to have 3 different lead singers on that song. This is all Mikey, because this was the like I said, the first one, and we this group of songs sort of floated to the top of the soup, so to speak.
Right.
And but the next one, I've got some wonderful singers, including Mikey, that are going to be on that. And I just feel like it makes it. It's not boring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're really, really, really good singers.
Yeah. It doesn't follow a specific formula, which I liked a lot.
Yeah, and the commonality is, my writing style.
Right.
And I have another wonderful singer who's not singing lead on any of this stuff right now, Edison Wilson, who is, he plays, he's a multi-instrumentalist. He's a great singer. The only reason he hasn't sung lead on any of the material is because I had a backlog of stuff with all the lead vocals done, and then Ed went through a period where he was ill and wasn't able to sing, but he's singing. Him and I arranged the background vocals on this, and he and I are doing a lot of the background vocals on this, along with a lady named Tanqueray Hayward, who is she's singing lead on one of my upcoming songs. and my daughter sings background on one of my upcoming songs, as does my wife. So
That's cool.
it's like, I get a little bit. It's like a stew of,
Yeah. Now you've done. I mean, you've been in this industry for a very long time. What are some notable works that you've been a part of in the past?
Well, I started out really young. I started out. I mean, my first appearance in public was in a parade, dressed as Mickey Mouse as a marionette, and I also appeared at that same time when I was 5 years old. I was in kindergarten. I played a snare drum solo with the local high school symphony orchestra when I was in kindergarten. And I grew up in Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. Actually, my wife likes to say you didn't grow up in Lock Haven because you moved from there when you were in fourth grade. So, the town I was born in. And then I played, I just played by ear. My parents were not really musical minded, and so it was just through force of my own. I wanted to do this. I would pretend I was playing guitar with the acts that were on like American Bandstand, and I used to like a lot of songs that my father was an Elvis Presley fan, and Johnny Cash, and so I grew up listening to that. Frank Sinatra. So when I first started playing drums seriously, when I got my first real drum set, I was 5, but it wasn't like a drum set like you would think of today. And but when I got my first real drum set, it was a Slingerland set, and I used to play along with Frank Sinatra at big band records. And I took lessons. I didn't take lessons till I was in about maybe 6th grade, and then I started getting asked to play in bands. I don't remember really how that happened. But one of my oldest friends who passed away, a guy named John Kuzma, he was one of the first people that I worked with. He was playing bass at the time, and we jammed, and then I ended up in a band when I was like 13, 14 years old with guys that were like 18, 19. One guy was 20, and it was a band called the Abstracts, and that was the first rock and roll band I was in. The next band, I sat in with a band called Something Different, and they did like everything from James Brown to the Delphonics, cover tunes, and they were very popular. They had horns, and I sat in, and they called me the next day and said, "Hey, we want you to be our permanent drummer." And so I played with them all through high school, and we opened in nightclubs for Brendan, the Tabulations, the Delphonics, the Intruders, all these great legendary Philadelphia bands that had records on the charts, and we opened for them on the Chitlin circuit, which is what it was called. And we were an all-white band with a black singer and horns, and we did a couple original tunes, but most of the stuff we did was, we would do like a Temptations whole show. Mm-hmm. There was a record called The Temptations Live at the Copa, and we did that entire album with choreography, and it was, but we were all white. We had a black lead singer who, to this day, was probably one of the best singers I've ever worked with. Just a natural guy that had unbelievable pipes. And then I went from there. I got more into rock and roll and the psychedelic, Van Morrison, and not that Van Morrison was a psychedelic artist, but we would do like Van Morrison, we would do the Stones, we would do some David Bowie stuff, and then from there I went back to playing with some of the guys I was working with in high school, and I had a chance to audition for Hall & Oates, and I made it down to the wire with them. I did a couple dates with them, and then they came off they came off the tour, and the next thing I knew, Daryl had recommended me to a friend of his named Tim Moore, who had written a song called Second Avenue, still one of the greatest songs, in my opinion, ever written. You should check it out, Tim Moore, Second Avenue. And Tim had Bernard Purdy and Russ Kunkel and Alan Schwartzberg, great drummers playing on his records. And Daryl Hall recommended me to Tim, and I got that gig and toured with him, and ended up working with Ken Scott, who had produced and engineered Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars album with David Bowie. He also did, I think he did the Changes album. And Ken actually, it turns out, I didn't really know at the time, but he had produced like everybody that I ever was influenced by.
Oh, wow.
In my teens and early 20s. He just an amazing guy, and an amazing body of work, from Elton John to Jeff Beck to Procol Harum to the Beatles. So I ended up getting in that Woodstock, New York gang of people, and so I was working with Robbie Dupree, Tim Moore. I worked with Bob Dylan's guitar player for a little while, a guy named Mason Ruffner. And then I was in Kingfish, which was Bob Weir and Dave Torbert's spinoff from the Grateful Dead. And I'm still actually doing some things with Kingfish. I did their last album a year and a half, 2 years ago. I did the Kingfish 2022 album, and I just got a call 2 days ago. We're going to be doing some dates in the summertime.
Nice.
Me and Michael O'Neill and a guy named Ralph Liberto, who were all in Kingfish back in 1979.
Wow.
So that'll be a fun thing. But my main thing is this. My writing is the most important thing to me.
That's quite the resume. You've been doing this for a long time, and have definitely done some incredible things and worked with some incredible musicians yourself.
Yeah, but I've been lucky. I certainly I don't know. I just do what I do, and I've been lucky that people have liked what I've done, and everybody's always liked my drumming, but when I got the writing bug, that's when I really kind of went into this. I don't know what you would call it. Not a depression, but like anxiety about how am I going to come out with material after I've sat across from Daryl Hall in the recording studio, or Tim Moore, who is a master songwriter. And so I just hope that people listen to my stuff and like it, you know what I mean? And whatever judgment, comes my way at this point in my life, I'll accept it. If they like it, that's fantastic,
Well, hopefully it's good comments only, because this album is out, releasing on February 23rd, Steve Shive and the Urban Saints, Hard Bargain. It is an absolutely incredible EP, and you can find it on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music. We'll talk more in the big three about where people can find
order
out more
it. They
about
can just
you.
go to my website, which is steveshive.com, and go to the contact page.
Perfect.
And there's a phone number on there. There's an email address. So if you wanted to a copy of the record, I'm selling the EP for $8.99, and like I said, they can contact me through that website, and I will. They can pay me either through PayPal or Venmo, and I'll mail them the CD. That includes the shipping and the postage, and there was something else I forget what it was I was going to say, but and it'll also be available at Positively Records in Levittown, Pennsylvania.
Cool.
They don't have copies of it yet, but they will have it by the release date. Support that store because they're great. They sell vinyl, they sell CDs, and they buy old vinyl that's in decent condition and sell it. And Kevin is like the greatest guy. He is my granddaughter's other grandfather, so he's my son's father-in-law.
Oh yeah.
And his daughter is my daughter-in-law.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So Olivia, my new granddaughter, who is she is 9 months. He's the owner of the store, so support that store because he's a great guy and he can get anything for you, you know, that you want. You know,
shout
whether
out,
you want my CD or anything else, support that store.
Shout out Positively Records in Levittown.
Yeah.
And also steveshive.com. It's going to be down in the description. So if you're, for all the listeners, if you're listening, click on steveshive.com. Or if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be in the description of the video as well. So next, Steve, I like to move into a segment called the Big Three. The Big Three are questions that I ask everybody that comes onto the podcast. So my first question for you, Steve, is what do you think makes Bucks County a great place to live?
It has everything. I mean, it's got everything. I mean, you know, I grew up in Levittown. It certainly is different today than it was when I grew up. But you know, I think everybody looks back with a bit of nostalgia on their childhood.
Always.
You know, I bought a house there. I haven't moved. You know, I've done improvements to my house, and I plan on staying there. You know, unless I'd end up, making a windfall from my music. You know what I mean? I'm planning on aging in place there. Great neighborhood. We got you guys for neighbors. I know all the other neighbors. You know, I've been there as old as my son is, 33 years, and you know, I got a great place. You know, I don't need anything else. You know, just my music and
everything we need is so close,
family.
And everything we need is so close to where we are. I mean, close to Route 1, the Turnpike, 95. We can get anywhere we want to, all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
And everything we need is it's right there.
Right. Right.
So that's cool.
You know, and the thing is like, you know, if you need to be in New York or you need to be in Philadelphia, it's, you know, New York's 50 minutes or so by train.
Right.
You know, Philly's 25 minutes by car, you know. So it's kind of, it's got everything.
Yep.
You know, so.
That's not the first time we've heard that answer on the podcast because it's the location. You can't beat the location.
Right.
We're nestled between two major metropolitans. We have the shore about 45 minutes away. I know you guys go to Spring Lake a lot, which is not that far. And then we have
Cape May too. We go to Cape May. That's a little further, but you know, when we go like for a day, you know, it's nice because we're not early. I'm not an early riser, and you know, so we get up, eat breakfast, you know. Casually and you know, we head out to the shore around maybe 11 or 12 and we're on the beach in 50 minutes to 60 minutes.
Right.
And you know, and then 4 or 5 o'clock we come home. We're home in you know, basically like 50 minutes, you know, an hour.
Yeah.
Basically, and it's great. So
exactly. And then you go an hour the other direction, you're in the Poconos. So you have everything that you need. I mean, it's such a great location. So my next question for you, Steve, is what's your favorite restaurant in Bucks County?
That's a good question. Probably I would say Jules in Bristol.
Where are they at?
They are a great, if you like seafood, they ship in fresh fish from all over the country. Actually, I'm going there next week because of my anniversary. Is on our anniversary. My wife Shelley and I's anniversary is on February 14th.
Aw.
So we're going to, you know, we're going to Jules.
I'm gonna have to try that out.
It's not inexpensive, but you know, it's like one of those places where you know you go for a special occasion. In the summertime, you can sit outside. I think even in the winter, you might be able to sit outside. They have the heaters, the gas heaters outside. But they have you know, any kind of seafood that you would want, and that you can't get at other places that have seafood.
How long have you and Shelley been together now?
So, well, we were married in '76, so that's what,
48 years?
48 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you got married on
better
Valentine's?
get that right. shouldn't I?
Did you get married on Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, happy anniversary.
So, thank you.
And my last question for you, Steve, is where can people find out more about you and Steve Shive and the Urban Saints?
Oh, steveshive.com.
Perfect.
It's got everything on there, you know, about me, what I've done, you know, my discography, you know, different projects I've worked on. There's a lot of my stuff, you know, I did a while ago. So, you know, the video is, you know, there's a couple videos on there of, like, you know, Brooke Shive in the 45s and with Mason Ruffner, and a lot of the other stuff is material from albums I've played on that, you know, are on YouTube. So, you know, I've posted them on there. So, that, you know, you can hear me with Daryl Hall and Stephen Dees. You can hear me with Tim Moore. You can hear me with a number of different artists on there, you know.
So everything's steveshive.com.
But Steve Shive and the Urban Saints is really, you know, the thing that I'm promoting the most. And so right now, if they go to steveshive.com, the second song on the EP is called Fair Warning, Last Drop of Sympathy, and they can listen to that whole song on there, and that'll kind of give them an idea what the album is about. And like I said, the pre-sale will be on February 9th, and the actual release date for the record will be February 23rd. So it's
awesome.
Coming up.
And folks, if you're listening, if you're watching, please go to steveshive.com. This EP has been filled with a lot of time and energy by my awesome neighbor Steve and all of the other artists that are featured on this EP as well. So please make sure to check it out.
There's a lot of great players on this. Brian Wilson's bass player. My good friend Bob Lizick is on there. Glenn McClellan from Ween and Blood, Sweat, and Tears is on there. Mikey Jr., of course, plays a little bit of harmonica and does all the lead vocals. And I'm trying to think who else is well, Edison Wilson and I are doing a lot of the background vocals. I mentioned Tanqueray Hayward. She's a great singer from Philadelphia. So, you know, there's a lot of great players on there.
That's awesome. And I'm looking forward to more EPs down the pipeline. So thank you again, Steve. I really appreciate you coming out today.
Yeah. I thank you for having me. I really appreciate you having me be able to, you know, talk about this and you know, start to get the word out about it. So.
It's my pleasure, Steve. Thank you so much. And as always, I'm your host, Alex Neff. Make sure to reach out if you have any questions about Bucks County living.